Everybody, welcome back to At the Buzzer. We're joined, as always, by Jack Tiernan. Jack, how you doing?
Good, Brian. How are you?
Doing quite well, and I'm excited. You thought the NBA season was over. Oh no, folks. It never ends.
It's
So we have the
just
Summer
beginning.
League. So yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Boston Celtics Summer League team. And Jack, yeah, take it away. What are you seeing out there? What's good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between?
Man, there's nothing bad or ugly about the Celtics Summer League team this year. You see all the stuff on Twitter that's comparing them to like Michael Jordan's Bulls, um, the mid '80s Celtics, right? Because they're so dominant. They've won every game by I think their average win point differential is like 20 points. So it's not
Jesus
ever close,
Christ.
right?
Yeah.
It's like the reason, of course, is because we have a bunch of third-year guys in there that have all like developed their skills a little bit, and they're
Mm,
taking on these undrafted and foreign draft and stash guys. So it's
right.
kind of funny to watch. But um, man, I don't think there are really any negatives after watching the guys that we have out on the floor. I think every single person has a solid upside, and it's been a blast to watch those games. If you haven't watched them, go watch some highlights because you got some from Romeo Langford, Carson Edwards, Peyton Pritchard for sure,
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Nesmith. Like it's a good group of dudes.
Yeah, so I think the other day you like texted me, you're like, not, I don't know what you're doing, but right now the Celtics are up by 40 points in like the third
Yeah,
quarter or
yeah.
something. It's like, Jesus Christ, that's insane. So who has stood out the most? Who's been like the MVP of the Celtics Summer League so far?
That's a good question. I am so biased towards Carson Edwards, but it's
Mm.
not Carson. I'm gonna go with Peyton
Okay.
Pritchard.
Mm.
He didn't play this last game because he was playing in a pro-am game in Oregon, where
Okay.
he put up 92 points.
Okay.
Um,
Pretty
yeah,
good.
so he's okay. But he was lighting people up on the court
Mm.
for the summer league team, summer league C's.
Mm.
And then he took that game off. And then Neesmith picked up where he left off, was shooting real hot from deep for a while, same as Pritchard.
Mm.
And then you've got good development showing from Carson Edwards as an all-around point guard, kind of like this is going to be a really bad comparison, but Russell Westbrook, like very, very light addition.
Sure.
But he, shows good rebounding skills, good ball skills, good off-ball skills.
Mm.
It's fun to watch. I really enjoy watching him play. He's definitely an explosive player, but with the boom comes the bust. So it's kind of like hit or miss with him. It feels.
Right.
Um, but those are my guys for sure. And I don't want to leave out Romeo. Romeo Langford has showed some great progression as a
Mm.
player overall. His defense has always been like lockdownish, but I think now his offensive game is kind of coming up into its own. He's hit some good threes, very
Mm.
impactful threes in the spot where they're at in the game. Um, and then they beat the 76ers 100 to 80 the last game. So,
Oh, well,
I think everything's good. Everything's good.
look, yeah, it sounds good. So, Jesus, I just love the idea of like there being a pro M game and like all the amateurs being excited, and then one of the pros just drops 92 on their
They're
heads.
like, like that was a really good fun time. I'm
Mm.
out.
Yeah, Jesus. So, any big surprises? Like any guys kind of standing out? Like, oh, I didn't know they were quite that good, or maybe have potential to be good in the NBA going forward.
Definitely. I think that you look at specifically Neesmith,
Mm.
who not not saying he was bad in his first year, but he didn't really get a lot of time to develop
Mm.
and kind of find his groove. And as a spot up shooter that the Celtics want him to be, you definitely have to find a groove to do that well.
Right.
So when he's getting his looks here, it's obvious that he can be that guy where maybe not as a first option, but
Mm.
you have Tatum and Brown drive into the basket, Pritchard drive into the basket, Dennis Schröder, who drives to the basket now, which is also another good signing, which we should talk about. My bad, just grazed over him.
Mm.
Uh, but like, you get somebody on the perimeter who you need to get men on, just because he can absolutely beat you from behind the line. And that's a huge, huge step for the Celtics because we don't have anybody like that right now. Of course, Tatum and Brown can do it, but like
Right.
having a dude who is a legit weapon from catch and shoot, like essentially Kyle Korver type, right? Is like this is a good dude to have on our team, and his development is definitely promising.
Yeah. So let's talk about the signing you just brought up. Tell me about him.
Yeah, Dennis Schroeder played for the Lakers last year, averaged
Mm-hmm.
15 plus points per game, um, decent amount of assists per game, and the Celtics are getting him for Well, let's take it back a little bit. Dennis turned down a 4-year, 84 million contract extension in the season, which would have paid him around 21 mil per year. And the Celtics signed him for a 1-year deal at the mid-level exception being 5.9 million. So he took a 15 mil pay cut, um, and no guarantee of future years of contract, no future money, because he declined that option middle of the year. So he was probably flabbergasted, for lack of a better term, and just accepting that, wow, nobody's really going to offer me anything aside from this 5.9 mid-level exception, so I'm just going to take it.
Yeah, so is
And
that, you
now we're
think,
here.
like, the Lakers is kind of overestimating his perceived value when he was going to hit the open market, or I guess, and also him overestimating his perceived value based on the Lakers offer? Like, what happened there? Why is it such a disparity?
Yeah, it was a huge drop off, right? So I think something I know in the playoffs he did have a 0 point stinker, so that probably doesn't help as a starting guard.
No.
Um, I would say not. It doesn't help your $84 million case. And I think, to be honest, I think there are a lot of cheaper options, or he's kind of a mid-level guy where he like showed he could be streaky. Which again, knock on wood if you've heard this before. Celtics Kemba Walker streaky, can play some days, can't play other days. Best of luck to Kemba on the Knicks, of course, but
Of
like
course, yeah.
I don't want those knee injuries around. Frankly, we'll take Dennis, a couple years younger, drives to the basket a lot. But I think, I don't think the Lakers really needed a bona fide point guard because they have LeBron who can kind of run the point, and now with Westbrook, like that's your guy who's gonna run point, and Dennis, they're not re-signing him. And I think every other team really has a point guard, right? Like I don't think there's a point. No
Yeah,
pun
so
intended.
basically he's the reason that we got Russell Westbrook on the Lakers
Pretty
now.
much.
Okay.
It's
So,
all Dennis's fault because he can't just agree to that money. That is a good contract for him. Seriously, he was coming off the bench a year prior, and then he gets that offer, turns it down. He was betting on himself, and I people do it all the time, and it just didn't work out for him. But
Yeah.
I'm happy to have him.
I'm a big proponent of players like betting on themselves. Like, I think it works out more times than not, but when it doesn't work out, it's just brutal.
Hurts, right?
Yeah, it sucks. So hey, good for the Celtics to get him at such a reduced rate. We'll see. Like you said, it's not a long term deal, so maybe for him he can play really well and get a better deal going forward. We'll see. We'll see. Any other big Celtics stuff you want to touch on?
Yeah, well, real quick, we'll talk about Brad Stevens' plans probably for next season. He left the door open with a lot of expiring contracts this year, hence the reason of only signing Schröder to 1 year.
Right.
Because he's off the books next year, as are a bunch of guys. Horford can be off the books. Trying to think of who else. Josh Richardson will be off the books, who we traded for from Dallas. Cantor will be off the books, who we just re-signed. I'm glad to see him back. He's a great offensive rebounding presence. But what I'm getting at here is Bradley Beal is a free agent next offseason. The likelihood that he wants to play with Jason Tatum is pretty high, I assume, assuming he doesn't request a trade now and get traded off somewhere that we can't acquire him.
Right.
I think Brad is trying to walk the line of leaving that door open for a max extension or a max signing for Bradley Beal. Or he's leaving the door open with the assets that he has currently. Dennis Schröder for $5.9 million is a great asset to trade for Bradley if he decides that he doesn't want to play on the Wizards anymore, which, frankly, can you blame him?
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But that'll be an exciting storyline to watch as the season progresses.
Yeah, no, definitely. Be interesting to see. I think, this is maybe the last, hoorah of this Celtics iteration. Maybe afterwards they kind of try to add more people, try to kind of reshape the face of the team because, there's only so long you can go where they're just, right there but not taking the next step before it's
Right.
we have to make a change. This isn't working. And we've already seen that with Brad Stevens going to the front office and, no longer being the coach. So, exciting times. A very, influx era for the Celtics at the moment.
Everything's fluid.
Yes, yeah, that's a better word for it. A very fluid situation. Trying to come up with something, it came up with influx.
It works.
But Yeah, I guess so. If there's nothing else about the Celtics, I want to add something. Suggestion if you're an NBA fan, especially for our age. On Netflix, there's a docu-series called Untold, and the first episode covers the Malice at the Palace. It's from the Pacers' perspective, so you have a lot. Reggie Miller, Meta World Peace / Ron Artest, Steven Jackson. It's very much of like this event prevented the Pacers from potentially winning an NBA championship, which, fair, unfair, that team was quite good, but the Pistons were also really good. There was the Lakers, there were the Spurs, there were the Kings. There's a lot of, stuff going on in that era, and of course the Lakers end up beating the Pistons in the finals that year. But it's very interesting, especially if you are, a fan of mid-2000s basketball. And just that event is so wild. It's so insane how out of hand that got so quickly.
Really badly, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're looking for something, when Summer League isn't happening, I suggest Untold, Malice at the Palace. Very good. And, Jack, anything you'd like to add before we get on out of here?
No, I'm good on my end.
All right, awesome. So, Jack, where can they find you online?
You got it. Best place to find me would be at Jack_Tiernan. That's on Twitter. Definitely have some NBA takes coming up as the season gets kicking off.
Awesome. So follow him there. You can hear his NBA takes and probably some football takes because starting this week in earnest, we're going to be covering lots of different NFL stuff going on with focuses on, of course, the Dolphins, Jack's Saints, and Chad's Patriots. So you're not going to want to miss that. You'll see Jack real soon in another segment. I don't want to spoil it yet, but this week you'll certainly see it, provided this one. I guess this one has to come out first now, or else nothing will make sense.
Spoil everything.
Well, yeah, that's quite all right. So stick right here. Wicked Good Sports. We have tons of content coming up, of course. If you like us, maybe check our other channels out. YouTube.com/WickedEverything, which is more comedy channel. We got a new video on there where I talk a little bit of what the internet used to be like versus what it currently is like. Didn't get a ton of views, so I would very much appreciate it if you checked that out. We have our podcast channel at Better Radio. Of course, this channel is Wicked Good Sports, and you can find us here on YouTube and any podcast services. Follow us on Twitter at Wicked Good Sport or WG Everything, Instagram at Wicked Good Everything, Twitch at twitch.tv/Wicked Good Everything, and TikTok, search Wicked Good Everything. We will see you in the next one.